my channel. My name is Kirsty and thank you so much for being here. Hi everyone and welcome back. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kirsty and my channel is all about weight loss and health and just discussion in general. I have been on a weight loss journey since April 2024 and I have lost about 60 pounds in the 8 months that I have been on the weight loss journey, and I have used mounjaro or Zepbound to help me lose that weight. Speaking of that, today I wanted to do a video on why the weight loss injections or GLP-1 medications such as Ozempic and mounjaro actually work, and also why I believe that obesity is not our fault and nor does it make us a moral failure. So I just want to discuss a few thoughts that I've had while on my own GLP-1 journey that have come about through negative reactions or comments. So I just wanted to just go through a couple of pointers and give my opinion on that. But first of all, I just want to give a really quick disclaimer. All opinions are my own and are based on my personal experience and research. My opinion may differ from yours, but I am not in any way meaning or attempting to offend anyone. I am just a fellow human discussing my experience. Please do not leave or incite hate in the comments. Any hateful comments will be removed. Opinions and discussions are more than welcome, as long as it is respectful. Someone having a different opinion to yours is not that important, so please don't let it ruin your day. Okay, so now that's done, let's get into the video. So first of all, what actually are weight loss injections? Currently, there are two main ones on the market. There is semaglutide, which is sold under the brand names of Wegovy and Ozempic. Ozempic obviously being quite prolific in the media because a few celebrities have used it. And there's also tirzepatide, which is sold under the names of mounjaro, which I am taking, and Zepbound. They both contain something called a GLP-1 agonist. It was discovered in the 1980s by a doctor who studied a lizard in the United States, I believe. And he basically wanted to discover how this lizard is only able to eat once or twice a year. And from that research, it was then taken by another doctor and it was extensively researched and studied in order to help those with diabetes, and basically GLP-1 became first on the market under Trulicity, I believe it was called, Saxenda, which was basically like the first one, and then Ozempic has been like the main one that's kind of kicked off. And then from there, it was further developed and introduced to the wider population to aid weight management and weight loss. So what is a GLP-1? GLP-1s are also known as glucagon-like peptide 1. It actively works by mimicking the release of a hormone that gets released after you've eaten by the intestines, I believe. They work in quite a multiple of ways. They increase insulin production, they address insulin resistance, and they also reduce the amount of sugar that the liver can produce. And this can lead to a feeling of fullness by slowing down the digestion, and it also removes impulses to eat or overeat by reducing appetite. Both Ozempic and mounjaro contain GLP-1 in differing amounts. Ozempic has higher amounts of GLP-1 than mounjaro, but mounjaro also contains another peptide called GIP, sorry, scratch that, called GIP, which is a gastric inhibitory. I've not filmed for a while. I'm really sorry that I'm fumbling over my words here. Which is a gastric inhibitory polypeptide. And that further aids in weight loss by increasing your fat metabolism. So basically just increases your metabolism overall. Fat reduction, stimulating insulin secretion after eating, And it actually also works with GIP receptors in the brain to help lessen the emotional responses that people get from food, otherwise known as dopamine hitting or dopamine searching. So basically, it takes away the hit that you get or the high that you get when you eat food. So now that we know a little bit more about the medications, I just want to discuss a couple of negative attitudes or opinions that I personally have experienced while taking mounjaro. Just another quick disclaimer that everyone's entitled to their opinion, just like I am. So these opinions are my own from my personal experience, and it is not to basically rile up any hate or negative discussion. Willpower. So the first main negative accusation that I come across is that obese people are at fault for being obese, and I truly don't believe this to be the case. A lot of the time, it is because people are under the impression that obese people have a lack of willpower, and that it's also somehow cheating to take these medications. Um, my personal response to this is that yes, it definitely can be that obese people have a lack of willpower, leading to overconsumption, which leads to weight gain ultimately. But I think that the most important question that gets left out a lot and isn't really thought of at all when people are like, fat people are just, they have no willpower, they just need to stop eating that cake. Why eat two pieces of cake? Blah, blah, blah. But I think the most important question that people don't ask themselves is why is that obese person doing that? Why can't obese people just not overeat? And in my experience, the answer is that we can have willpower once we have been given the tools that make our body and brain work correctly. I have found that through personal experience of myself, plus I have made a couple of friends in the GLP-1 community and also on the Reddit subs, that once people are given these medications, so they're given Ozempic, they're given Mounjaro, they're given semaglutide, tirzepatide, whatever it may be, once people are given these drugs, they no longer overeat. And it's because the drive to overeat via hunger or impulse to dopamine chase, it goes away. Once people are given these medications, they do have the willpower to not overeat given back to them. So for somebody who has never really experienced this, it's probably a little bit hard to understand. But the reason why someone of a healthy weight doesn't overeat is due to a feeling of that's it, I've eaten, I'm satisfied, I don't really need to eat anymore, I don't really feel like I am hungry or, whatever it may be. These medications given to these people who have obesity, it allows them to not overeat. I genuinely believe that GLP-1s at their core are hormonal willpower. Are there instances where you could eat through the medication? Of course. There's been times throughout my own personal journey where I've eaten an extra biscuit or two, but the point is that it happens rarely, not daily, like it used to do while I was not on the medications. And it's because my body is feeling what my mind logically knows to be the case. It knows that we're full and that there's no need to overeat. Previously, I would be like, I'm still really hungry. Or, my brain would be like, eat some more, whatever it may be. And I would logically know that I didn't need to eat anymore and, that doing so would be detrimental to my health. But you can't argue against your body indefinitely. One of the ways that I like to explain this is by comparing it to really, really needing a wee. So have you ever been like really desperate for a wee, or have you had cystitis where you've really, really needed to relieve yourself? And the need is basically all that you can think about. And when you finally have that wee, all the thoughts around having that wee goes away because your body has released your urine and you're no longer like, oh my gosh, my body is screaming at me to go to the toilet, and your brain is like, you need a wee, you need a wee, you need a wee. But when you wee, it goes away. Well, what if it didn't go away? What if you, even when you had relieved yourself, your brain and body were still screaming, we really, really need to wee? What would you do? You'd go back to the toilet to see whether you just had maybe a little bit left over. And maybe that second wee would relieve you for a little bit, but 10 minutes later, your mind and body are screaming at you again. Logically, you'd be thinking, there's absolutely no way that I need to go and wee again because I've just had a wee. Okay. So you'd be able to distract yourself. You'd attempt to distract yourself for however long, but how long do you think that you could ignore the compulsion to go back to that toilet and relieve yourself, even though you know you don't need a wee? A couple of hours at most. Eventually you will have to naturally wee again, so your actual wee will be coming back. So you would have to go to the toilet to wee, and the relief is great. So what would you do if the compulsion to wee happened every minute of every hour of every day, your whole entire life? How long do you think you would have the willpower to not take more trips to the bathroom than necessary? How long could you hold out? Don't forget the feeling of urgency in your pelvis, nor your brain constantly interrupting your thoughts to remind you, hey, we need to pee. I can guarantee that it would eventually beat you down. Ignoring your mind and body is near impossible when it's constantly telling you that it needs to do something, even though logically you know you don't need to do it. It wouldn't be sustainable, and eventually you'd get beaten down and you'd go back to the toilet for a wee. For most, these medications, so these weight loss injections, the Mounjaro, the Ozempic, it removes that need to wee or eat, which is more realistic about what we're talking here. For me personally, I don't believe that I was I had a moral failure issue, or I was at fault, or I was just greedy, or I don't actually believe that it was a willpower issue. And if it is a willpower issue, it's because of my faulty body and mind that doesn't work effectively, and it doesn't tell me what I logically know to be true, which I don't need to wee or I don't really need to eat. So while my body is screaming at me, telling me to eat, and my mind is screaming at me, telling me to eat, even though I logically knew that I didn't need to, that constant aggravating nagging got the best of me, and it would eventually lead me to overeat, which is a lot of the case for a lot of the people, which is a case for a lot of the people who take these medications. And I hope that makes sense. It's probably a little bit here, there, and everywhere, but that is how, one of the only ways that I can describe is that it is basically like really, really needing a wee and having to ignore all those impulses to go to the toilet. And instead of it being the toilet, it's the fridge. And instead of it being the urgency to wee, it's actually an urgency to overconsume. Obese people are just greedy and lazy. So I've already tried to make a little bit of some sense of to why the greedy part isn't that simple. At its core, if that was true, then these drugs wouldn't work at all. If all obese people were just greedy and wanted to overeat, we would just overeat it anyway. But we don't, because our minds and bodies are finally on the same page with what we know to be true. We've eaten, we're full, and we're satisfied. So what about on the other side of it? Well, what about just being lazy then? Why don't obese people just exercise? Well, first of all, you can't out exercise a bad diet. So even if I ran 15 kilometers a day, if I came home and I was overeating, that will catch up with me. So, you can exercise, absolutely you can exercise, but you won't get to the goals and the achievements that you want to get by eating really badly and then trying to exercise out of it. So I would never be able, or we'd never be able, people who have obesity would never be able to have a healthy body just through exercise alone. But second of all, I'd really like to share with you a video that is from autumn 2023. I was about 4 months into a calorie deficit and working out 5 times weekly. And the only difference between that video and now is that I wasn't taking mounjaro then. So I'm just going to post that now so that you can watch it. It's about a 3-minute video, and I'm just going to post it all because it's just going to be really easy to tell you what I mean.
Right, so gosh, gotta figure out this. There we go. Day 4 is done. It was hard. I did cry. I got really defeated at one point because I just felt like my belly just feels and looks way bigger. I was doing some push-ups and it just looked way bigger than it had been previously. And I suppose I am just still losing the weight, you know, so the kind of body composition is probably not going to change that much while I'm still losing the weight. But like, for example, like I really want to build my bum because my bum is really small, and then I've got this big chubby hip muffin top thing, and I've got my big belly and my back rolls. It's just, I suppose it's really hard not to be impatient with something like this. I mean, there are little bits of goals, there are little bits of loose skin here and there. But this week I've been feeling big again. And up until now I'd felt quite like I'd actually lost some weight, and you could tell. And now that, I don't know, for some reason this week it just feels like I look like I did. I mean, I probably don't. I mean, I could probably just find some old pictures or some old videos or something of myself, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard to keep going and carry on when you can't see much change. But nobody said it was going to be easy, and it's definitely surprising what I actually can do, because I don't really think that I give myself much credit for anything really, but especially exercise and weight loss. So but yeah, so 2 stone down officially, 12 stone 9 today, so 28 pounds down, 2 pounds to go until 30 pounds. Yeah, and we're about 4 months in, so is what it is. Yeah. Okay.
So in that video, you hear me say that I am 28 pounds down in the 4 months. So I'll try and find a video or a photo, and I'll just post it here while I'm talking, of when I started my 2023 weight loss journey, compared to that video. There was really very little body changes, like at all. Compared to mounjaro journey, where I was 42 pounds down in 4 months. So that is a stone more in the same amount of time. But more importantly, when I was 4 months into my mounjaro journey, my body looked like this. Now, to me at least, because it is my body, there is a very obvious difference between those two videos. My stomach is much, much smaller in the second video of my mounjaro journey as opposed to my weight loss journey in 2023. I was in the exact same calorie deficit, eating very similar. There wasn't very much that I can pinpoint that I did differently in 2023 compared to 2024, apart from I probably ate more carbs in the mounjaro journey than I did in the 2023 journey. I really prioritized protein in the 2023 journey. I mean, I still do prioritize protein in my mounjaro journey, but because I wanted to do it in a healthier way, I also made sure that I ate some good complex carbohydrates. I was still exercising 5 days a week in both of those videos, and the only difference was that I was taking mounjaro. So if it's just you need to exercise, why was my exercise more effective on this journey? PCOS. Now, for those of you who don't know, I have had PCOS since I was roughly around 17 years of age. PCOS, otherwise known as polycystic ovarian syndrome, is an endocrine syndrome which causes some women to develop cysts on their ovaries, although that isn't always the case. It can also cause hypoandrogenism. I can't say that word, so I'm just going to put it there, which can lead to high blood pressure, diabetes, stuff like that. PCOS can also cause neuroendocrine disruption, where hormones are not regulated correctly. That can cause lack of periods, infertility, or fertility complications, and it also causes insulin resistance. And just a really brief history into my PCOS. I started menstruation around 12 years of age. And prior to this, I had been a relatively slim child, maybe a little bit of puppy fat, but nothing out of the ordinary. Once my menstruation started, I did gain a little bit of weight, which then came off again over the course of about 2 years. So when I was around 14 and my cycle had become really well established, my weight remained pretty consistent. And I was roughly around a size UK 8 to 10 at that point. But once I was around 17 years old, my periods began to become really irregular and really painful. And I had pain throughout the month as well. And my weight started to increase quite rapidly. So by the time I was 18, I was a size 16. So I had basically doubled in size. And literally nothing had changed as I was still in school. So I was still eating a very similar diet and routine, and I was walking to and from school every day. So nothing really had changed. So why the change in my weight? And it took until I was actually age 30 to be allowed to get tested for PCOS. And I basically had to lie to my GP and say that I was having difficulty getting pregnant in order for me to be given blood tests. And it did in fact actually turn out that I did have PCOS. But once I discovered that I did indeed have PCOS, I began to read into it with a plan of hopefully sorting it out through medication and lifestyle choices. However, I actually did get pregnant with my son, and it took quite a backseat until 2023, which was when that first video was filmed. When I became sick and tired of my weight, and I just really wanted to change at this point. You know, I wanted to be a healthy mom, and I just felt really poorly all the time. I was sluggish and had a lot of brain fog, constantly dopamine chasing with food, and and I was just exhausted in general. I'd got to a point where I was like, I'm sick of this weight. And my highest weight after my son, I was 15 stone 7. And when I started my first weight loss journey in 2023, I started off at about 14 stone 7. During this period, so 2023, my periods were wildly irregular, and I only had 8 periods throughout that month. I'm just going to pop a screenshot here from my period app. I started dieting in the June, and by the October, I was 28 pounds down. So you may as well just call it 30 pounds down in the 4 months. But I still really had signs of PCOS. You know, I had the really large stomach roll, and I was really, really apple shaped. I had a lot of torso fat accumulation. You know, basically it was just all upper body. So my back, my belly, my boobs, my neck, my face. There was a lot of fat accumulation there. And even though I had lost the 28 pounds, it wasn't actually that much considering I was 200 pounds when I started. And so to lose 28 pounds in 4 months wasn't really that amazing compared to what I lost. I lost 42 pounds a month before when I've been on my mounjaro journey. And even though diet and exercise and being in a calorie deficit and exercising 5 days a week, so you know, it wasn't very much change in my physical shape, shall we say. So what was it that had stopped my body working effectively? So the next thing I want to discuss is insulin resistance. With my PCOS came insulin resistance, and this was the main cause of my diet and exercise having very little effect on fat loss and bodily changes. So, what exactly is insulin resistance? Insulin resistance is a term that basically, you know, just refers to the fact that your body becomes resistant to the insulin. Insulin is a hormone that essentially removes sugar and glucose from the blood into cells. And in someone with insulin resistance, normal levels of insulin do not have the same effect on controlling those blood sugars or those blood glucose levels. When this occurs, fat cells have a reduced uptake of lipids, which actually leads to elevated levels of free fatty acids, which also further worsens insulin resistance. So what does that actually mean in terms of weight loss and fat distribution and stuff? Insulin resistance is actually the main primary hormone for energy storage in fat cells. So a surplus of insulin hormone leads to the formation of new fatty tissue and accelerated weight gain. The excess adipose tissue that comes about through insulin resistance, combined with an overeating, which is a common thing with insulin resistance for many people who have it and for many reasons, it leads to lipotoxic or inflammatory effects. And this again may lead to contribution to further worsening the insulin resistance itself. Essentially, it's a really, really toxic cycle. What this all means at its core is that your body becomes really, 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 really good at storing fat. And because from a biological point of view of survival, our bodies are designed to hold on to fat cells. They don't really like giving them up very easily. So, you know, your body, when you've got the insulin resistance, it holds on to those fat cells really, really, really well. And it's also really, really good at making new ones. In order for your body to heal and recover, you do really need to address and reverse insulin resistance, which is exactly what GLP-1s do. I would absolutely love to further explain why this happens and how it happens, but most of my research that I have done just found studies showing that GLP-1s and GIP led to a reversal of insulin resistance, but it didn't actually go into the reason why this happened, and I'm not really too sure that they currently know. There are studies going on as to try and make sense of this. And for me personally, once my body started to recover from the reversal of insulin resistance, my body changed in ways that I had never really experienced before. So my periods are now regular and have been for 5 months. Bearing in mind I've only been on Mounjaro for 8 months. I'm just going to put in a new screenshot here comparing my previous 2023 to 2024 period results. So you can see that my periods have really regulated themselves. My waist is finally at a healthy range for the first time in my entire adult life. So when I was 18 and I'd gained all that weight and I was a size 16, the thing was is that my waist became really big. I became very apple shaped. I've never really been able to lose any fat from around my stomach. And by the time, you know, even like before when I lost the weight last year, my measurements were still really big. So my waist only shrank by the 2 inches, even when I'd lost nearly 30 pounds. So, when you think of it that way, that's really not that great of a loss at all. Whereas my waist has gone from 44 inches to 29 inches, which is a loss of 15 inches after 60 pounds loss on Mounjaro. I went from 192 pounds to 132 pounds, and I lost 15 inches. And when you think that that's only kind of double what I lost in 2023, to have lost 15 inches compared to what potentially would have been 4 inches if I'd lost 60 pounds last year, that's not really that great. So the 2 inches lost after 30 pounds just really compared to the 15 inches off my waist this time around just really shows that insulin resistance really was to blame for my fat accumulation around my stomach. And again, when you have insulin resistance, your body becomes really efficient at holding on to fat cells and not letting them go through diet and exercise. And it also is really good at building new fat cells. So that combined together with, overeating from the lack of willpower because of a faulty body and mind connection or whatever it may be, just basically spells for disaster and is basically what I believe at its core to be one of the causes of obesity. Just in this segment here, I thought I would do a really quick recap Q&A for those people who don't want to listen to me ramble on because yeah, I'm aware that this video is probably quite long now. So I'm just going to do some really quick recap Q&A and I'll write it up so that you can read it. So why don't we just do it without the injections? So due to disordered eating impulses and not having the correct bodily reminders of feeling full, etc., you're constantly battling with yourself and your body and your mind. You can do it for a little while, sure, there's not a problem with that. It's absolutely doable. I've done it myself. But at some point, you will not be able to carry on with it as it's exhausting, demoralizing, unsustainable to constantly have your body and mind tell you that you need to eat. So even if you wanted to try it, I personally feel that it's not sustainable for the majority of people who are wanting to lose a big amount of weight. Why not just exercise? If you unfortunately do have insulin resistance, you can exercise and still not change your body, or it will change very little or very slowly. Combined with a calorie deficit and seeing no results, this would cause anyone to get demoralized. So, can it be achieved? Absolutely, but not by everyone, and personally, not long term. I believe. Is it not just calorie in and calorie out? At its core, yes, but not until you address the insulin resistance and also treat the disordered eating caused by lack of feelings of fullness or eating compulsions or the food noise that a lot of people tend to say that they get. Surely obese people just lack willpower. Yes, I suppose you could say that it is similar to that. The difference is that it's not our fault that the willpower doesn't kick in. When you eat, you get full and your brain goes quiet. People with obesity do not get this, and so they overeat regardless of knowing logically that they don't need to. This is because it is all encompassing, which I explained, with my little intense feeling of urination need. You can distract yourself for a couple of hours or so, but you will fail eventually. Give them a GLP-1 medication, and the willpower is there, the biological functions are in place, and the need to overeat goes away, resulting in weight loss. Why not just go to therapy? While this may work for some, not all obese people overeat due to trauma. Yes, this may play a part, but the meds take away that compulsion because it removes the dopamine hits that comes from eating. This, combined with feeling full and satisfied, leads to a more healthy eating pattern, and weight loss will happen. It's very rare to find someone who eats through this medication, which you would think they would do if it was just down to greed and lack of willpower. So I can just tell that this video is already going to be quite a long one, so I think I'm just going to leave it here for now. What are your thoughts on this? Have you received any negative comments or seen any negative opinions that you would like me to discuss in a separate video? I know there's a lot of us who are on a GLP-1 weight loss journey that feel quite isolated because we don't tell our family members. I personally don't have a lot of people in my personal life that know I'm on a GLP-1 because there will be a lot of criticism. And as time has gone on and I have basically got my own personal experience about this, I am hoping to share with them so that I can explain to them, like I've just explained in this video, why I believe that these weight loss medications, why they work, and why obesity isn't my fault. Yes, I did choose to overeat, but there are underlying biological causes and reasons for why I overeat and why my body doesn't drop the weight effectively, which I have discussed in this video. I hope this video was okay and not preachy or offensive. I would just like to reiterate that your opinion is your own and you are entitled to it. Please also consider what I have discussed with open ears and don't just completely dismiss it because of a previously held opinion that you have. Thank you so much for watching, and to my amazing 861 subscribers. I love you all so much and I have missed interacting with you all so very much. I will be back with an update on my journey very soon. So I hope to see you in that one. I'm also thinking about maybe doing some vlogs. I'm not quite sure yet. It is something that I'm thinking about. Yes, I may be doing some vlogs, and I do have a few other video ideas on the, like in my noggin. Okay, so if you like my content, please consider giving a like, comment, or subscribing. Until my next video, please enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, the rest of your month. Take this time, make it yours, and make it count. And remember to thrive, not just survive. I love you all so very much. Thank you for being here with me today. I love you. Take care. Goodbye for now. Bye.